It's Miss C. I'm going to be reading a story with you today. It's called I'm George Washington. Before we read it, I want you to make sure you looked at the questions that are posted along with this video. And again, like you did the last time, you may want to jot them down, either print them out or write them down in your copybook so that you can look at the questions while we're reading. We're going to be talking about the story a little bit after we read it, and we're going to focus on when we read nonfiction books, it's important to really read it and understand what we're reading, because a nonfiction book is just that. It's something that is real, that has really taken place, or that could actually happen. This one is, it's historical. George Washington was our first president. So we're going to kind of learn a little bit about that. But I really want you to pay attention and listen to the words that are being read and kind of how you read a nonfiction book. You don't speed right through it because you need to understand and really remember. It's important to remember what you're reading in all stories, but especially nonfiction, because they are made to really help teach you about something. Okay? So make sure you got the questions, and then you can listen to me read. So I Am George Washington by Brad Metzler, and it's illustrated by Christopher Elupus. I am George Washington. You know what one of the hardest things in life is? Being the first. When you're the first to try something new, there's no one to show you the way. But when I was little, I wasn't the first. I was the fourth of 9 children. When I was really little, I lived at a place called Mount Vernon, which had a huge river running through the backyard and unexplored forest in every direction. People will tell you that I was a perfect boy. They'll say I didn't tell a lie after I chopped down a cherry tree, but that cherry tree story isn't true. Like most boys did back then, I liked swimming, fishing, and riding horses. I was a decent athlete, but nothing spectacular. Mostly, I was an ordinary kid. I liked books and even liked to dance. I was great at it. In school, my best subject was math. I was pretty good at writing, but I was a terrible speller. But remember when I said that it's hard to be the first? It's easier when there's someone showing you how it's done. I loved hearing stories of his adventures. Thanks to my brother, I knew I wanted to serve in the military. Soon, though, I saw how uncertain life could be. When I was 11, my dad died. We couldn't afford proper schooling, so my brothers had to teach me at home. I didn't go to high school or college, but I was committed to learning and building myself. And then these little captions here say, as a boy, I copied all the rules from a book of virtues. There were 110 in all. Number 11, don't gnaw your nails. Number 12, don't stand too close to people when talking or you'll spit on them. Number 100, don't use a fork or knife to clean your teeth. Instead, use a toothpick. The most important was the first one. Every action done in company ought to be done with some sign of respect. I guess that covers spitting on people too. When I turned 15, my mother told me I needed to get a job. Since I was good at math and precision, I became a surveyor, someone who explores large areas of land to find their boundaries. The rain was fierce, and one night the straw mat I was sleeping on caught fire. The next night was even harder, but we kept going. There was something special trending a new path, something beautiful in doing what no one had ever done. Just being around the Fairfaxes changed my life. They helped me get work. I observed how they lived, how they dressed, and how they ate. I even learned how to properly dance. At the Fairfaxes, I ate with fine silver and beautiful china. At home, I ate with sticks at a fire. It was as if I was living in 2 worlds. But to me, both were equally important. When I got older, I joined the military. In my first big battle, I was on the British side, fighting against the French and the Native Americans. We lost the battle, but I became the commander of all of Virginia's fighting forces. At the age of 23, I ran for office to be a member of the House of the Virginia Legislature. I lost. That's right, I lost. It didn't stop me. I tried again, and this time, I won. In fact, I won re-election every time after that. But the world as we knew it was about to change. Remember when I was growing up, the United States didn't exist yet. Back then, there were no states, just colonies, all of them controlled by England. We were ruled by the British king named George III. In April 1775, the first shots were fired in Massachusetts, in Lexington and Concord. It took 8 days for the news of the new American Revolution to reach me. Are we going to let the colonists in Massachusetts fight alone, or are we going to join in them? It was the biggest question in history. The answer came at a meeting called the Second Continental Congress. Our 13 colonies decided we should fight together against King George III. All we needed was a leader for the battle. Guess who they chose? Some say it was because I was a natural leader. Some say it was simply because I was taller than everyone else. But let me tell you a secret. I was the only one wearing a military uniform. It wasn't an accident. On that day, I came ready to lead, ready to do the job, ready to be the first. Was it easy to be in power? Never. Our side didn't have enough food, clothing, or weapons. Their side was well fed and well armed. Our side didn't have trained soldiers. We were farmers and fishermen. Their side was the greatest fighting force in the world. So how did we win? We were smarter. We wrote plans in invisible ink so the British couldn't read them. Cool, right? Invisible ink. My code name was 711. We were sneakier, but most important, we wouldn't give in. After we beat the British Army, a new government was formed. I presided over the convention that wrote our Constitution, which created the new laws for our country. The brand new United States of America was free to explore its own future. Now all we needed was to pick our first president, someone brave, someone strong, someone trustworthy enough to handle all that power. And guess, again, who they chose. Some say it was my most heroic act. Instead of putting myself first, I put my faith in my country. I put my faith in you. In life, there are many ways to lead. You can be a quiet leader, a tough leader, a bold leader. But leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. When you're in a position of power, always look out for those who put their faith in you. And always forge your own road. For sometimes the most important trail is the one no one has ever taken. When you do those things, you will clear a path that will lead the way for others. Every year, we still celebrate his birthday. President's Day is a national holiday. He's got the only state named after a president. People think he wore a wig, but he never did. He powdered his hair white, which was the style back then. Leadership doesn't come from charisma or personality. It comes from courage. The courage to do what's right. The courage to serve others. The courage to go first. I am George Washington. Today they call me the father of our country. I have the courage to do what no one's done before. And that's the end of our story, but at the back there's a quote. It said, "I hope I shall always possess virtue enough to maintain the character of an honest man." And then here's a little timeline up the back. And then the back of the book says, "I am George Washington. I have the courage to do what no one's done before." So you have the questions to go along with this story, but now I just want to kind of talk with you about the story for a little bit. So we know that it's nonfiction because that story is accurate. That story is true. It really happened. Some of you may have known all of those things. Some of you may not. But George Washington was our first president. You've always heard about the cherry tree and his honesty. It's also important to let's think about our story. If it's nonfiction, that means it really happened. But I also think you could look at it as, he's teaching you a lesson too, a real life lesson, to have courage and to do things. Everything you do in life isn't always going to be easy. Things are going to be challenging. And just like George Washington, sometimes you just have to have courage to try new things. And, he didn't win the first time he ran, but the second time and every time after that he did. So he didn't let challenging things cause him to quit. He persevered. So I want you to think about those things. I want you to work on those questions. If you have any questions for me about the questions or the story, please let me know. And if you need anything, I'm here for you.